Britain learned early that money moved empires faster than marching armies. Steel conquered territory, but revenue conquered centuries through silent economic force. Nations rose by collecting wealth, not simply by capturing distant lands. And Britain mastered taxation before the world understood its mechanics. It began with kings facing war debts impossible to repay honorably. Armies demanded coin, ships required timber, fortresses consumed endless financial resources. Old revenue systems collapsed under weight of constant expansion and conflict. So Britain reinvented taxation using innovation where others relied on coercion. Medieval monarchs discovered citizens feared chaos more than paying annual levies. Taxes framed as national duty cleverly disguised their burden upon citizens. Britain realized obedience increased when taxation appeared patriotic rather than punitive. Perception shaped behavior, transforming unpopular levies into collective civic responsibility. The Crown introduced customs duties controlling trade passing through British harbours. Merchants paid willingly, believing contributions protected profitable maritime routes. This alignment between commerce and state strengthened Britain's treasury exponentially. Revenue grew not by force, but through mutually beneficial national strategy. As London expanded, its markets demanded stable taxation supporting commercial complexity. Guilds regulated trade, while offering monarchs consistent revenue through negotiated agreements. Britain learned cooperation extracted more wealth than unpopular direct royal levies. Money flowed smoothly when subjects felt involved, rather than coerced harshly. Then Parliament emerged, reshaping taxation into shared responsibility with controlled oversight. Representation justified revenue, creating illusion of fairness within national governance. Britons believed authority now balanced, ensuring levies carried legitimate political purpose. This perception allowed government to raise funds more aggressively than monarchs. New taxes targeted imports, luxury items, land, property, and industrial production. Each levy designed strategically to avoid provoking widespread civilian unrest. Britain perfected subtle taxation, removing wealth quietly without violent confrontation. Revenue extraction became science rather than simple primitive collection method. The empire's expansion increased financial burden, demanding unprecedented revenue innovation. Colonies required administration, defense, trade regulation, and large-scale infrastructure creation. Taxes funded this global system, underpinning Britain's rising international dominance. Every distant territory contributed wealth, reinforcing British financial centrality worldwide. Tea taxes sparked colonial rebellion, proving taxation shaped geopolitical history dramatically. Britain underestimated symbolic power, embedded inside seemingly trivial fiscal decisions. The American Revolution revealed taxation controlled emotions as much as economies. Revenue mismanagement could fracture empires more quickly than external military pressure. Yet Britain adapted, rebuilding its financial machine after losing American colonies. Parliament restructured taxation architecture, strengthening domestic fiscal resilience significantly. Revenue became predictable, efficient, and increasingly tied to industrial economic growth. Britain recovered not through force, but through strategic reinvention of taxation. Industrial revolution transformed revenue collection beyond anything Britain previously experienced. Factories produced wealth unimaginable to earlier generations still tied to agriculture. Britain responded by creating taxation systems, capturing industrial prosperity effectively. Income, output, and consumption offered fertile territory for increased revenue extraction. Customs and excise officers became backbone of Britain's expanding fiscal network. They targeted smuggling, enforcing compliance against merchants avoiding national tax obligations. This enforcement protected Treasury while reinforcing legitimacy of Britain's revenue system. Taxation became shield, defending industrial expansion rather than hindrance to growth. The window tax revealed government's ability to influence behavior through levies. People bricked windows avoiding charges, darkening homes to reduce tax burden. Public outrage grew, illustrating taxation-shaped architecture and daily living conditions. Britain learned taxation altered society in ways far beyond economic impact. The income tax emerged during wartime necessity and transformed Britain permanently. Initially temporary, it became central pillar of British fiscal architecture. Income taxation granted government continuous stream supporting global power projection. Britain gained ability to fund wars without immediate catastrophic financial collapse. Public resistance softened as government framed income tax as patriotic contribution. Narratives emphasized duty, unity, and shared responsibility, strengthening national survival. Britain discovered emotional framing converted burdens into perceived moral obligations. Propaganda merged with taxation, making revenue systems psychologically self-sustaining. Victorian administrators refined taxation machinery into efficient bureaucratic institution. Ledgers, forms, inspectors, and auditors built foundation for modern revenue systems. Tax is now systematic, predictable, and structured to maximize national financial entrance. Britain's economy expanded because taxation supported infrastructure enabling industry growth. Railways, ports, schools, prisons, and hospitals all depended upon tax revenue. Government invested strategically in institutions, multiplying national economic output significantly. Tax-funded development positioned Britain as epicenter of global commercial operations. Revenue produced stability underpinning Britain's standing as world-leading financial empire. Sin taxes targeted alcohol, tobacco, and gambling, shaping public behavior consciously. Britain realized taxation could engineer morality, using financial consequences strategically. Policy and psychology blended seamlessly, guiding choices through subtle economic pressure. This revenue machine manipulated lifestyle while generating enormous financial returns. Empire-era taxation extended British influence across continents through indirect rule. Colonial administrations introduced levies, compelling local populations into monetary economies. Taxes forced labor participation, resource extraction, and agricultural market integration. Britain used fiscal policy to control colonies without requiring constant military presence. The Hutt tax, salt tax, and poll tax reshaped colonial societies effectively. Resistance emerged, yet taxation reinforced dependence upon British administrative structures. Colonies funded their own governance, while enriching Britain's central treasury. This fiscal design created empire of revenue rather than strictly territorial dominion. London benefited immensely, as wealth from colonies flowed into financial districts. Bankers, insurers, and merchants profited, all powered by empire-backed taxation. City institutions expanded influence, shaping global capital flows for generations. Britain's revenue machine became backbone of worldwide economic integration. Taxation shaped class structure, defining British society throughout 19th century. Working classes bore consumption taxes, landlords paid targeted property assessments. Government balanced burden, ensuring stability while funding large-scale national projects. Tax policy engineered social order, supporting Britain's long-term cohesive strength. The 20th century introduced welfare state-financed through progressive taxation. Health, pensions, housing, and unemployment support relied upon sustainable national revenue. Britain transformed taxation into moral foundation of post-war social stability. Citizens accepted levies, believing government responsibility essential for national unity. World wars strained treasury, forcing government to increase taxation aggressively. Yet public compliance remained high due to shared existential national threat. War bonds, rationing, and taxes merged into unified patriotic economic effort. Britain's revenue system demonstrated unmatched resilience during unprecedented global crises. Post-war governments expanded taxation, further funding reconstruction and modernization programs. Infrastructure, healthcare, and education required steady long-term financial commitment. Britain's stabilized economy, despite debt burden using well-structured tax strategies. Revenue became engine driving national recovery and a catastrophic military devastation. The modern tax code evolved into complex network balancing growth and fairness. Income bands, corporate levies, property rates, and consumption taxes interwove. Britain engineered equilibrium supporting businesses while protecting vulnerable societal groups. Revenue policy reflected philosophical identity shaping Britain's economic future. Globalization pushed Britain to adapt taxation systems, attracting international investment. Corporate incentives encouraged multinational companies, establishing headquarters within London. Britain used tax policy to secure global economic relevance strategically. Revenue became tool enhancing nations' competitive strength across interconnected markets. Digital era introduced challenges, requiring sophisticated modernization of fiscal architecture. Online commerce, offshore accounts, and multinational revenue streams complicated taxation. Britain responded developing frameworks targeting global corporate profit-shifting practices. The tax machine upgraded, merging technology with centuries-old institutional expertise. Britain's taxation history revealed consistent patterns shaping national destiny repeatedly. When revenue systems strengthened, Britain expanded influence across global economic landscapes. When taxation failed, stability weakened, undermining nations' geopolitical standing. This cycle defined British power more profoundly than traditional military strategy. Today, UK taxation remains the foundation of society's functioning institutional environment. Public services depend on collections, maintaining national infrastructure and social stability. Revenue sustains healthcare, security, education, pensions, research, and public investment. Britain's revenue machine continues guiding nations' evolution through disciplined tax policy. Taxation is Britain's oldest tool of power, still shaping national character. It governs behavior, funds ambition, stabilizes markets, and underpins public expectation. This machinery remains central to Britain's political, economic, and social architecture. Understanding taxation reveals hidden engine, powering one of history's greatest nations. As Britain entered the late 20th century, taxation gained unprecedented complexity. Governments sought revenue while maintaining competitiveness in globalized financial markets. This required delicate equilibrium, balancing public trust against necessary fiscal extraction. Britain evolved its system carefully, shaping destiny through refined economic architecture. Corporation tax became key instrument, attracting multinational giants into London's orbit. Lower rates encouraged investment, headquarters relocation, and large-scale economic activity. Britain gained influence not by force, but by financial magnetism. Revenue increased through growth, proving generosity sometimes strengthened national power. Yet public services demanded stability, hiring governments maintain reliable domestic taxation. Income tax bands expanded, capturing growing workforce participation across modern industries. Strong middle-class contributions sustained social programs, forming Britain's welfare foundation. The tax machine adapted smoothly, reflecting changing national economic demographics. Value-added tax emerged as a powerful tool extracting revenue from consumption. Its structure ensured constant income regardless of economic fluctuations or uncertainty. VAT impacted everyone equally, reinforcing taxation's reach into everyday transactions. Britain deployed it strategically, strengthening Treasury even during economic downturns. The digital revolution created new challenges unseen by earlier tax architects. E-commerce eroded borders, allowing companies to operate outside traditional regulatory frameworks. Profit shifting undermined national revenue, requiring modern coordinated international cooperation. Britain responded decisively, leading global efforts addressing corporate tax avoidance. HMRC transformed into technologically advanced institution, capable of analyzing global data. Algorithms track suspicious behavior, revealing hidden revenue streams avoiding taxation. This strengthened enforcement, bolstered state capacity, while increasing public fiscal confidence. Britain proved tax innovation essential, maintaining influence in globalized financial systems. Housing markets created massive tax revenues through stamp duties and valuations. These taxes shaped behavior, influencing property investment and generational wealth accumulation. Britain learned real estate taxation, controlled urban development and demographic distribution. Fiscal policy became instrument guiding population patterns across entire national landscape. Inheritance tax targeted intergenerational wealth, preventing extreme concentration among elites. This measure aimed at supporting fairness, stability, and economic mobility for citizens. Debate persisted, yet revenue remained essential for balancing national accounts. Britain recognized wealth transfer taxation shaped future class structures profoundly. Fiscal policy influenced corporate behavior through incentives for innovation and investment. Tax credits encouraged research, factories, technology development, and local job creation. Britain used taxation not only to collect, but also create. Revenue systems became levers stimulating long-term national productive capacity expansion. During economic crises, tax adjustments protected households and preserved national resilience. Cuts encouraged spending, sustaining businesses reliant on consumer activity during uncertainty. Britain learned flexibility crucial for navigating unpredictable global financial landscapes. Taxation became shock absorber, reducing severity of economic turbulence nationwide. Austerity introduced tension between public expectation and government fiscal responsibility. Budget deficits required difficult decisions, even when politically unpopular and contentious. Britain balanced necessity against compassion, attempting long-term stability amidst hardship. Taxation determined viability of services millions depended upon for safety. International tax treaties positioned Britain center of global revenue architecture. London negotiated agreements reducing double taxation and supporting cross-border investment growth. These deals strengthened Britain's appeal to global corporations seeking stability. Diplomacy merged with taxation, creating framework shaping worldwide economic behavior. The offshore world complicated Britain's revenue collection in unprecedented, sophisticated ways. Wealth moved invisibly across jurisdictions, exploiting legal gaps between nations. Britain responded with targeted reforms, increasing transparency within financial ecosystems. This ensured fairness while protecting international reputation as responsible fiscal actor. Taxation shaped innovation through incentives supporting renewable energy development nationally. Britain used fiscal tools, reducing emissions while sustaining industrial competitiveness. Revenue policy encouraged adoption of cleaner technologies, aligning with environmental goals. Fiscal strategy became force guiding nation towards sustainable economic transformation. Business rates influenced structure and survival of high streets across Britain. Companies struggled balancing operational costs against rising property valuations nationwide. Government adapted policies preserving jobs while securing essential revenue streams. Taxation shaped geography of commerce, affecting daily life across generations. Public trust remained cornerstone, holding entire taxation system together firmly. Citizens accepted burden believing contributions funded shared national purpose. Loss of trust risked collapse of cooperative fiscal culture Britain relied upon. Thus transparency became vital, maintaining long-term stability within taxation ecosystem. Taxation influenced public opinion during elections, determining political party destiny. Proposals shaped debates, revealing ideological differences guiding economic future. Voters weighed personal cost against perceived national benefit carefully. Revenue policy shaped ballot behavior more strongly than foreign affairs. Immigration introduced challenges, requiring taxation accommodate growing diverse population needs. New citizens contributed to workforce, economy, and national cultural transformation. Taxation ensured services scaled accordingly, balancing demographic expansion effectively. Fiscal planning allowed Britain to absorb change without institutional instability. Corporate taxation debated fiercely regarding fairness, competitiveness, and national priorities. Businesses demanded simplicity, while citizens expected contributions aligned with profitability. Britain navigated tension, refining rules, supporting both growth and fairness. Taxation shaped identity of modern British capitalism within global markets. Public expenditure decisions reflected moral values embedded inside taxation philosophy. Funding hospitals, schools, and welfare shaped Britain's humanitarian global image. Revenue became expression of national character, prioritizing dignity and social care. Taxation defined relationship between citizen, state, and collective national responsibility. Taxation influenced regional power distribution through devolved government arrangements nationally. Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland gained control over specific levies. This autonomy shaped local economies, reflecting unique regional cultural identities. Britain balanced unity and diversity through nuanced fiscal decentralization strategies. The service economy expanded, requiring government to adjust taxation supporting modern industries. Digital firms, freelancers, creators, and gig workers challenged existing frameworks. Britain innovated policies recognizing labor evolution within 21st century reality. Taxation adapted as work transformed dramatically across global technological shifts. International crises tested stability of Britain's revenue machine repeatedly across decades. Financial crash strained budgets, threatening collapse of vital public services nationwide. Taxation responded dynamically, ensuring nation continued functioning despite unprecedented disruption. Strength relied on adaptabilities, sustained by centuries of institutional financial expertise. The pandemic revealed vulnerabilities hidden beneath modern revenue systems abruptly. Lockdowns halted commerce, collapsing traditional sources of public national income. Britain intervened with fiscal support funding survival for millions of citizens. Taxation recovered gradually, demonstrating resilience of national financial architecture. Britain's tax machine today blends ancient principles with technological modernization harmoniously. It relies on fairness, compliance, trust, and sophisticated predictive data systems. Revenue remains heartbeat powering national security, stability, prosperity, and collective ambition. Without taxation, Britain's institutions collapse, and society unravels without structure. The British tax trick was never simply collecting money from citizens. It was engineering loyalty, shaping society, guiding behavior, and strengthening governance. Taxation became bond binding people to nation through shared financial responsibility. This system built Britain's power more effectively than any historical army. Centuries taught Britain that stable revenue guarantees global influence sustainably. Empires rise through force, but endure through disciplined fiscal architecture. Britain mastered art, transforming taxation into strategic instrument, shaping civilization. Its revenue machine remains quiet foundation beneath modern world's economic order. Taxation is Britain's oldest uninterrupted system, still guiding national future today. It reflects identity, values, struggle, ambition, innovation, and institutional resilience. The British tax trick is understanding money governs behavior more effectively. And Britain perfected that principle, shaping history through countless financial generations. If this story revealed the machine powering Britain's hidden strength, remember, money shapes nations long before armies ever march. Subscribe for more untold histories buried beneath civilization's surface, because the next revolution will begin inside a ledger.